Breaking the Silence is a podcast that dives into the intricate and often challenging topics of grief and loss within relationships. Through insightful discussions, the podcast aims to explore how pain can be transformed into purpose, leading to healing and growth. By addressing themes such as inner child work and the journey towards feeling alive once more, this podcast offers a beacon of hope for those navigating difficult emotions. Ultimately, Breaking the Silence aims to guide listeners towards moving forward and embracing all the blessings that life has in store as they embark on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual fulfillment. I'm your guide through this journey, Renee Wallace, and I invite you to join me as we break the silence surrounding grief and loss, transforming pain into purpose and finding hope in the healing power of storytelling. Welcome to Breaking the Silence. I'm Renee.
And I'm Kelli with an I.
And we are so happy that you are here with us today. Go ahead and grab a drink and get cozy and let's just chat. Okay, so today we are actually going to be talking about that thing where you get the feeling like you're all close and connected, and then boom, one of you goes cold all of a sudden. So I'm super excited to be able to talk about this today. So Kelli, do you feel like you have ever experienced like where either you have all of a sudden that connection has shifted for you, or you've experienced it with someone else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been on both sides to where I've done it and it's happened to me. And when it happened to me, I mean, it's happened to me before, but there was one time that was very prevalent. I mean, it was many years ago. And it was so weird because it was just like somebody just turned the switch right off. It was like this relationship, even though it was a very young relationship, and nothing was done. Nothing I can think of, it wasn't, I mean, the person was pretty great person. And it was just completely like turned off for myself. And it was, I don't even know how to explain. I mean, I don't even know why. There was no defining moment or anything that I can think of, but then I've also had it happen to me. And now being older and learning these attachment styles and stuff like that, like I can really look back and be like, oh, I totally see it's a person who was, didn't think they were worthy. And, I just felt really scared that I think that I came out so strong with love, like true love. Like I truly love them. I mean, there was no ulterior motive. I didn't want anything out of, I just truly loved them. And I think it's just like totally freaked them out. And then moving forward, that's happened to me a couple times, but it's usually when there's somebody else in the picture. So, but yeah, stuff definitely happened to me before. How about you?
For sure. Actually, I think, and I was even wondering, well, like, so there was someone that, yeah, like all of a sudden I just felt that like wanted to pull away. And now with everything I know about attachment and everything, I very much know that was probably the avoidance side of me, because they came on more, I would say more anxious and just very much like wanting to come close and connect and all those things. And, me just being like, whoa, this is a little too much now.
Right.
And like, it's interesting because at first it can be okay, but then all of a sudden you start to feel yourself withdrawing and pulling back, like this is too much for me, So I've definitely seen it that way. I've also experienced it where I've been in relationship with someone where they, pull back or withdraw or, need space or whatever. So I think it's very common for people to experience. And it doesn't necessarily, just because it's common does not mean that it makes it easy or
for anybody, it can be uncomfortable, especially if you don't know what's going on. Like, I think once you are educated in this, then you can see it for what it is, and you don't make it mean something about you. But we'll get into that more too. So actually, what I would say, what we're actually talking about is deactivation, which is a scientific term of basically like withdrawing, So it's the process where avoidant types, which makes sense that you and me are familiar with it too, knowing our attachment styles, use emotional distance when things feel too close, or maybe it's too fast or too threatening. It can very much even happen like maybe like it can happen in a lot of different ways. Maybe you had a very close weekend together, or maybe you had a little bit of a more deep conversation, like maybe about relationship or where you're headed, or just different things like that, where it can feel like threatening or scary because everybody, well, not everybody. Well, I would say a lot of times it comes down to wanting to avoid being hurt. And so when those conversations get really real, it can trigger a lot of things within us, right? Of like, oh my gosh, like the abandonment wound of like, well, this can't really last or whatever. And I'm sort of jumping off. So before I go any further, I would say, like, I promise we are not bashing anyone here. We're just talking about like why it happens and how to recognize it and even what to do with it. Because sometimes, especially if you're not familiar with attachment styles and all this, you just think like, this is, I wouldn't say that you would think it's normal, but maybe you think like your brain is like telling you, oh my gosh, like this person is not the right person, or you wouldn't feel like this, you wouldn't feel the need to get away, all those things, like, because again, your brain is like trying to keep you safe, right?
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. So, all right. So, basically, and that's sort of what I just said, deactivation is a survival instinct. And it's a defense mechanism. So it's not a sign that someone doesn't care about you. So say, for example, somebody does go away, they withdraw, you don't hear from them for days. It does not mean anything about you. Honestly, it really probably means how much they do care about you, because that's why they're now so scared, because they care so much. When it's surface level and you aren't really invested in somebody, it's no big deal. But when you really care and things are maybe getting a little bit more real in the relationship, it very much can trigger that where they want to pull back. And so I just want to encourage people to know, like, it doesn't mean they don't care. It really does mean that they care very much. And that scares them. Because they don't always want to get attached. They're afraid of what will happen if they get attached. And so anyways, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that so far, Kelli?
Yeah, I mean, I guess not to go off topic and kind of stay that route. I mean, and if we've talked about this before. I mean, sometimes you're just not compatible, and there's that.
For sure.
Because, for myself and other people, you'll be like, gosh, they were so perfect on paper, which I really hate to say that because it always sounds so, but it's true. You know what I mean? Like, because that's, no chemistry involved or anything. It's just, like two spreadsheets of like how people look like they would be compatible, but it really is a lot of chemistry and stuff like that. And I think to go along with that too is sometimes, along with what you're saying, we sabotage something good too, because you're right. We think we're not deserving of it, or so. I don't know, it just popped in my head. I think it's Missy Elliott's song. She's like, I'm going to leave him before he leaves me, or something.
And that's sort of what it is, Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave them before they leave me and hurt me,
Right. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Digging into my repertoire of Missy Elliott.
I don't even know who Missy Elliott is, but okay.
Renee.
Look at me. I don't know Dave Chappelle. I don't know Missy Elliott.
Okay, you know what? I mean, not that I'm the most cultured by any means, but maybe we should do a thing like we'll educate both of ourselves. Like
we go.
You get with your kids, I'll get with my kids, and we'll do like a hit moms.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right too, in that sometimes, like for example, the one that I was talking about, it might have triggered some of my like avoidance and stuff too, but I also knew like that it wasn't the right person for me. And how I knew that was that I never felt the desire or need to go back, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just knew like, no, that's not the person for me. Yeah. And yes, and still acknowledging that it very much could have also triggered some of like, just gave me the ick, like back up.
I was just going to say, I think that's what the kids say these days. I got the ick.
Yes, like, and that's what the ick, but that is also deactivating strategies, like literally like the ick of like, you'll start even picking people apart. And, you know,
like you try to find something wrong.
Find their faults and stuff like, and we'll talk about this, but I believe it's further into the outline of what we're talking about. But like, you know, maybe it's like the way they chew their food or the way they smile or, you know, just little things that are really, really, are they big things in the grand scheme of it all, you know, like, but any of that you can start to pick apart can sort of put some distance there, you know? So it's not always even that hard, like pullback where you don't hear from them for days. It can just be where they start with like picking apart and like finding your flaws and, you know, things like that. So I think it's important though for us to differentiate between healthy space, which is, I just need a little bit of time to myself, you know? Versus an avoidant shutdown. And that's more like I'm building a wall and locking the door. And so there is a huge difference. And sometimes avoidance very much can go and you not hear from them for months. You know, if they are completely like deactivating and they are shut down, like you can't even reach them in that moment because they just like, you could try to talk to them and be like try to talk them through it and like, you're going to regret this or, you know, just they're so shut down that they cannot hear it in that moment and they completely pull away and you might not hear from them for months, you know, and then they finally slowly might come back because then they feel like, and they'll test the waters to see if it's safe to come back. Right. But then they can also just do, well, I should say what is the better plan is just, they might go away for, you know, a few days or whatever. But I think it's important that is normal to have healthy space. But, and we'll talk about that, the communicating it like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym to clear my head. So that's one example of it. Or I'm suddenly ghosting you for 3 days. I'm just completely gone off the radar. In a healthy way that we can handle that, like maybe you do need a few days to yourself. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, you know? But to communicate like, hey, you know, I've had a rough week or, you know, I'm just overwhelmed about some things. I just need some time to myself right now. You know, I'm going to be off the radar for a couple days. It has nothing to do with you. You and me are good. Right. I'll talk to you in a couple days. Like, I think that is so important there because one, you're letting the person know that you really care about, like, hey, like, we're good. Yeah. I'll be back in a few days. I just need some time to myself. I need to think. I need to process. And I will say avoidants are very much, they're slow processors. Dismissive avoidance, especially, I should say. Fearful avoidance can tend to, they're very emotionally intelligent. So like, say for you and me, we might be processing through things really fast, and they're like, whoa, like they can't even process it that quick. So they need that time. And I can see myself even shift over into that sometimes and I think you've talked about like trying to articulate what you want to say. And isn't it interesting when you step away and have time, then you can get your thoughts clear and know exactly what you want to say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's important and okay to be able to say, hey, I just need a couple days. I'll be back on X day or whatever, whether it's hours, I just need 4 hours to myself. I'll be back tonight at 8 o'clock, or I'll talk to you on Friday, or I'll talk to you on Saturday or whatever. That also helps the person that you're in relationship with to know, like, to not have that sense of abandonment. Like, are they never coming back? Like if they're just like, hey, I need some time to myself. I'll talk to you in a couple days.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
You go enjoy your time on your own, and we'll reconnect in a couple days.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Go ahead.
That feeling of anxiousness and just wondering, like, what did I do wrong? And just trying to like play things through your mind. And yeah. So that communication could go a long way. But at the same time, do you think that they feel like they're going to be met with like questions? Why, you know what I mean? I mean, if it gets to be like it's a healthy relationship, but I think it's just easier just to ghost. Like it reminds me of what is it? The Irish goodbye. I think like when people just leave, like you're at a party, you just leave. You don't say goodbye.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that way you feel like it's just easier, just kind of disappear, just kind of like slipping in, away because you're not questioned or.
Absolutely. Well, I even was thinking about this. Like, say for me, like maybe there's a night that I just, like I know I'm in a funk or whatever. I just don't feel like talking to anybody. I never really thought like I wouldn't think that I would need to even communicate that maybe to somebody. But this has really woke me up to like, yeah, maybe like, hey, I just had a rough day. Like I don't feel like talking tonight. Just letting them know. But yes, I for sure think that depending on past experiences, maybe you were met with a lot of criticism, of like, why? What are you doing? What do you need to go away for a couple days for? Or, whatever, or what, so I think there's the criticism. And then I think that a lot of times then when they do go because they didn't communicate, then they're afraid to come back because what am I going to deal with when I come back? Like, am I going to get ripped into because where have you been for the past 2 days or the past 3 days or the past week or 2 weeks or whatever,
Yeah.
Like you just fall off the radar. So I think that when we can, so it's like sort of twofold, when we can learn, first of all, that it has nothing to do with us, it is them, and they're just emotionally overwhelmed at the moment, and they sort of just need that time to regulate themselves and process through things. When we can know that, then we can show up and be that calm, warm place for them, that when they return, they're not attacked. And you can just be like, hey, I missed you. I'm glad you're back.
Right.
And when they can see that that's like, wow, I didn't get jumped all over, then I think we can also talk about, but what makes me feel safe? So like, I missed you. I'm glad you're back. And what makes me feel safe is when you communicate that you need some space, which is totally fine. I'm totally good with that. Just give me a heads up.
Right.
That makes me feel safe. And just letting them know like that will go a long way too for you, so that your fear of abandonment isn't triggered.
Right.
Because even you can very much know like, okay, they just need the space, but then maybe somewhere in your brain you're like, are they not going to come back?
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure they're coming back, but are they?
Right.
So I think it's important just to communicate that. And it goes a long way, I think, for both people, because then that person can leave and go and have their time and not worry about like, oh my gosh, what am I going to deal with when I come back? What's the wrath going to be, you know?
Yeah.
And the other person is like, oh, good. They're having a couple days themselves. Great. I'm going to pour into me, you know?
Mhm.
I'm going to read
Yeah.
my book I've been wanting to read. I'm going to go to the gym like I've been wanting to. I'm going to go hang out with my girlfriends,
Mhm.
you know, and
Yeah.
not even stress about like anything because I'll talk to them again in a couple days, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So just like sort of how we do a girls trip or whatever, you know, you go and you have fun and great. We'll see them when we come back.
Right.
So, anyways, I thought it would be good too to even sort of talk about the difference of um, fearful avoidant deactivation versus like dismissive avoidant. So, again, like the fearful avoidant, they crave closeness, but they fear rejection too. They fear abandonment. Um, so, common triggers for them are fear of being abandoned
Mhm.
and feeling criticized and misunderstood, and sensing their partner pulling away.
Mhm.
Um, and how that shows up, it can show up in maybe having a great weekend together and then not texting back for hours or days, like we just talked about, picking an unnecessary fight right after being emotionally close. And so then again, these are like examples of deactivation of like, I don't even know if this could work, you know,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
and those are just ways for us to separate. And what it really comes down to, and I really want to like drive this point home, is that it isn't truth. It is really us trying to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
Like if I can just sit and tell myself, well, it probably would never work anyways.
Right.
Um, and I'll be honest, like there was a time even, and I told you about this, Kelly, that I was just like, you know, the thought of like, I knew it wouldn't last anyways, you
Mhm.
know? Might as well just enjoy it while it did, have fun
Right.
while it lasted. And, you know, and those are all just protective
Mhm.
mechanisms that we use that, like, if we convince ourselves, like, as if we're expecting, waiting for the other shoe to drop,
Right.
um, then it's not going to hurt as bad, right?
Mhm. Right.
Which isn't the case. It is still going to hurt because we still care. We
Right.
still feel something for them. And what we ultimately end up doing very much a lot of times is we self-sabotage it.
Mhm.
You know, we think we're protecting ourselves and we end up ruining something that could be really good.
Right.
So, again, fearful avoidance also can very much be that I need you one day and I need space the next, you know, because they
Mhm.
flip back and forth. So,
Yeah.
um, anyways, so just to even give like an example, like a story of what it might look like. So maybe you have this friend that told you they had this amazing date, and that she thought she was falling for him. And then the next day she blocks him on socials because she's sure that he was going to hurt her first. So that's a perfect example of like the first of all the self-sabotage, but also
Right.
that flipping of like you know, I was falling for him, he's going to hurt me first, so I'm just going to block him and, you know, avoid
Yeah.
all that. So alrighty, Kelly, you want to cover like a dismissive avoidant and their deactivation, what that
Mhm.
looks like for them?
Yeah. So, they value independence sometimes at the expense of intimacy. So,
Mm.
kind of meaning,
um Like, so they're hyper independent, right?
uh-huh.
And they very much value their autonomy. They are so afraid of being engulfed, like somebody just
Mhm.
taking over their life, taking over all their time, and they're very independent.
Yeah.
So they might sacrifice that in the sense of like, I value my independence so much that I'm going to sacrifice intimacy, whether that be spending time with their partner, talking to them intimately, even like
Mhm.
they just, yeah, they can create a lot of space there
Yeah.
because they're afraid of being engulfed and like losing their independence.
Yeah. So some common triggers, feeling smothered or controlled,
Mm.
and being asked to open up emotionally.
And I see that very much like they do very much have a huge fear of being controlled. And again, that comes
Mhm.
back to the independence piece. And for them, I will say, like, they so much are not like, nobody taught them how to express themselves, what they need, what they feel, what they want, emotions, any of that. So then when somebody comes to them and like wants them to like, just tell me what you mean or what you're thinking or whatever, they're like, I don't even know.
Right.
I mean, they really don't. So like when they tell you, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
they are legit. Like,
Right.
so it does take a lot for them to be able to um, process through. And I think that's where then it's just important to let them know, like, hey, I'm open to talking about something if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when they feel safe enough,
Mm-hmm.
then they will, if that's something and if not, that's okay too, but just letting them know and making it a safe place
Mm-hmm.
that they feel comfortable to do that.
Right. Well, I think that's that being vulnerable too. When you do that, you open up about those emotions and you're vulnerable, and sometimes it's just uncomfortable.
It is. And I think you really have to challenge yourself um, to do the uncomfortable things. I try to push myself a lot to do that. Even I was talking with you and realized like I'm scared of being hurt, and I think just to even be so vulnerable to have to say that to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's important because then you're on the same page of knowing like maybe you're both really scared of being hurt again,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and then you can have so much more compassion for each other of like, ah, we're both in the same place that we're scared. And at the same time, okay, what are things that I can do to make them feel safe, And vice versa. Like they could say, what are things that I can do to make sure that she feels safe, or he feels safe. So,
Yeah.
alrighty. Do you want to go over some examples of a dismissive avoidant with deactivating, what that looks like?
So yeah, your partner will say, we need to talk about how I'm feeling, and the dismissive avoidant will change the subject to work or sports or bills, I guess something superficial.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Something not so deep. And they are very notorious for being like, that's too deep, or why are you going so deep?
Right.
So,
Focusing on the flaws, they chew too loud, to mentally justifying creating distance. And do you think this is funny too? Have you had this experience? Like, and I think you'll know it's the one that you're with, because there's sometimes somebody can do the same thing that just like one person, again, that looks like they're perfect on paper. You're just like, and I know this is something that it happened to me. It was something that somebody said, and I was just like cringe. And then, that story was told to like, somebody that I was with. And when they said it, it was just funny. You know what I mean? So somebody can do the same thing, but if you just have that connection or that attraction or whatever, they can do the same thing or do something that's gross, and it doesn't gross you out, or you're just not like, you know what I mean? But another person can be like, yeah, it's just not working.
Right. Exactly. Yes. A couple other ones that I wanted to touch on too, like they can often withhold affection after deep conversation, because again, like that for them is so hard to have those deep conversations, and they're wanting to put distance there. So they can withhold affection, like hugging, kissing, being intimate, whatever it might be, They might do things like spending the night at the office when things start feeling serious, again, just trying to put space there.
Yeah.
So it's like when someone starts texting less and less, but if you ask them what's wrong, they'll say nothing. I'm just busy. Or if you ask them like, I haven't heard from you lately or whatever, they might say something like, well, some of us got to work, like
Right.
they very much want to deflect and like, what? No, there's no problem. Because they don't want to have to talk about it.
Right.
So, alrighty. So, what's the whole emotional impact on all of this? For the avoidant, deactivation feels like relief to them. Like when they first do it, it's like, I can breathe,
Mhm.
and it's safety in that moment. Um, but it very much leads to loneliness later. And it can lead, if if it is an extreme way and the person finally walks away or whatever because they just are like, I can't keep doing this for you. Keep repeatedly like either not letting me know that you need space or
Yeah.
you just disappear for long periods of time. Like it can lead to them feeling a lot of shame and regret too, because maybe they did lose something that was really, really good.
Mhm.
And so again, all that goes back to like the awareness of us talking about these things and why it's so important for us to heal.
Right.
Because we don't want to keep creating the patterns that we've watched throughout our life and, could potentially um, ruin something really good.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and on the partner, it can feel like rejection, abandonment, or confusion, like you said earlier, like, what did I do wrong? Like,
Right.
and very much, I think if you flip into that anxious part, especially if you do not have all this awareness and these tools and all this, um, you can like replay, like, what happened? What did I do? What did I say? All those things.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why I think it's also important for us to heal and be so self-aware that like even if somebody does withdraw some that we're just like, okay, like I'm just going to focus on me now. This is my time then, I'm going to pour into me. Like I'm going to do all the things I've been meaning to do that's been on my list that I haven't been getting to.
Mhm.
So, anyways, and then that way, maybe if you focus on it like this is my time, then you don't become so like anxious and like, what's going on and what did I do wrong? And
Right.
again, that's not always perfect either
Mm.
because sometimes if it goes too long, you can start to be like, are they coming back?
Yeah. Well, I think,
So,
yeah, just to get so absorbed in that, and then you just kind of lose yourself too, because and we've all been there. And I pray I'm never there again, but just that feeling, that kind of anxiousness, and it's just how it just affects your whole psyche, just
mhm.
all of it. I think it's one of the worst feelings I've ever had.
And I think it for sure it is. I think it is a very, and I've even told you that before, like, and again, that comes back to with me being so like transparent and honest of like not wanting to experience hurt again, um, like not wanting, yeah, to experience that again. I think that then we can even, I told you, first of all, like, I don't ever want to know that again.
Mhm.
Like that kind of like just that. Yeah, anxious, sick feeling, um, and yeah, be in that place. So I
Yep.
think that also another piece to that, because we can let our thoughts run wild, right?
Mhm.
And spiral out of control. And I am guilty of this.
Mhm.
I think anybody that is an overthinker can totally relate.
Right.
And like even me just having to remind myself, like, you need to take your thoughts captive right now.
Mhm.
Like if it is negative, if it is feeding this awful like loop or story or whatever you're creating, that is not from God.
Right.
That is the enemy. And he is
Mhm.
creating chaos within your mind, within your body. Like, so whatever that is for you, for our listeners, like
Mhm.
even just sitting down, writing out scriptures about taking every thought captive and
Right.
about or looking up scriptures on anxiety and stuff,
Mhm.
and going back to the word and filling ourselves because then we're filling ourselves with the word of God, which then is going to create the peace that we're
Mhm.
longing for within us, rather than letting the enemy just cause chaos in our mind, which is absolutely what we're allowing to happen.
Right. And
So,
he loves that. I mean, he doesn't
for
want you to be
sure.
happy in or in relationships. So
Right.
yeah.
And so I know that people think that avoidants are not anxious, but
Mhm.
they very much are. They are very good at looking like so stoic and have it put together, and they're so strong and capable, but they are a mess inside too sometimes.
Right.
And that is
Yeah.
why they actually want to pull away. That is why they want to deactivate, because they are feeling that anxious feeling inside of like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't like all these feelings that are coming up inside me. So they want to pull back to not feel that. So
it just feels easier. Like you said,
yes.
at the moment. And then
Yes.
you are left with loneliness and regret and like, why did I do that? I knew I was going to regret it, but it's almost just like a spiral.
Yes. Like there are very much moments, if I'm being real, that I've been like, with what Dave, it'd be almost 4 years that Dave's been gone. Like there's like, yeah, no, I don't ever want to date again. And again, that's a perfect example of like saying like, I don't want to be in a relationship or anything. That's a perfect example of like trying to keep yourself safe. Like, no, I don't really want that, like I'm good. I've got my life here. I've got my own thing. And so, yeah. So like, then you pull away and maybe you ruin this really good thing, but you're absolutely right. You feel safer in the moment. But then in hindsight, after all the feelings and all the emotions and the scared of getting hurt settles, then you're like, what'd I do?
Right.
I really like that person. And I really do want connection, and I really do want to be in relationship,
Right.
So it's just so interesting what our fear can do to us. And so anyways, so just even to touch like on some healthier alternatives for the avoidant, first of all, is to name the trigger. And that is even like, even when I notice myself, like I really have been challenging myself to stop. And like, even first of all, a couple things like stop and like ask myself, like, what is this really about? Like, what is it triggering in you? Like, and being able to acknowledge, like, it's the abandonment, the fear of being abandoned, and even noticing in my body. And I think that we talk about this, but maybe it's in a different episode, but I'll share it here just in case. Like body scans, like the other day, all of a sudden I could just feel my heart like thumping like crazy, like racing, and just stopping and just holding my chest, just to calm myself, and just breathing through it, and just doing a body scan of like, where am I feeling? And I could acknowledge, like, I feel it in my chest, like my heart is like going like crazy,
Right.
And so it's important, I think, for us to do those body scans to see where we're feeling the stress and the anxiety and the overwhelm, like, and just breathing through that, and, calming ourselves and sort of bringing ourselves back to center, and like grounding ourselves.
Right.
So like name the trigger, whether it's I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, or I'm feeling scared or stressed or whatever, and ask for space without shutting the door. So that is a healthy way to do it. Like, hey, I need a night to recharge, but I want to talk tomorrow, or I need a few days to myself, but hey, we'll connect this weekend. Like that just goes so far, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And then for the partner, resist the urge to chase, because if they are already like pulling back and like withdrawing, the more you go towards and chase, the more they want to pull back even more.
Right.
And it becomes this vicious cycle of like, then you keep going at them and they keep pulling back more and more. And that's where it can, end, and maybe not talk for months and months and months or whatever, because then they're finally like, see, I just can't do this. This is too much for me.
Right.
And, it just becomes this vicious cycle. So keep your own life rich and fulfilling. And that's what I was talking about, like going to work out, going with your friends to eat, going, reading the new book that you've had sitting on the shelf that you haven't had time to do, like really just pouring into yourself.
Right.
And then focus on creating emotional safety instead of pressuring for closeness.
Yeah.
So, and that can even be as simple as like that emotional safety of saying, hey, can you please like, just let me know if you need space. Like that makes me feel safe.
Right.
And if somebody really cares about you, they want you to feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can think of a person in my life that I care about very much. And I'm always thinking like, it is so important to me that they feel safe because I know what they've experienced and I want to, whatever I can do to help them feel safe too. You know, I think that's important when you care about somebody.
Yeah. I know I always like that saying when they say to be a safe place to land.
Yes. Yes. And, yeah, safe place to land. And I will also say avoidants are very much like peace too. So to even be that peaceful place for them, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, an example script, I feel like we've talked about this enough, but I'll still share it. I care about you and I need a little time to process. Can we check in tomorrow evening? Which that's sort of the same as what we talked to, like I need a night to recharge. Can we talk tomorrow? So
Yeah.
anyways.
And I think that's so very important. And you even saying that, because I know even with Tom and I, like even if something's wrong with me or I'm upset or something, like we'll even just be like, is it me? Because it's almost like if I say to him, no, it's not you, or he says to me, no, it's not you, you almost go,
Right.
okay, well, we can deal with anything then, you know, like I'm here for you. But just to know, like, because if not, you're like, is it me? Did I do something?
Right.
You know, and like you say, if somebody gives you that respect just to be like, it's not you, then you are able to go away being centered and do that stuff like, okay, I have peace that, okay, now I am just going to enjoy myself going out with my girlfriends or whatever it may be, or just, you know, really kind of investing in myself. But it's very, very hard to do that when you don't feel safe.
Right.
You know,
Right.
when you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You know, is this going to end? You know, and you're just, your psyche is just, yeah, unbalanced, you know, so.
Absolutely. And I will say, for sure, for people that have the insecure attachment styles, like, yes, that is very much going to trigger somebody that is not secure into like feeling like, are they abandoning me? Are they rejecting me? Are they leaving me?
Right.
But I will also say that it is still not even healthy. Even a secure person, if they end up with an avoidant continually does that pattern of like pulling away and just disappearing, you know, for days or weeks or months or whatever, they can normally a secure person would like end it much quicker because they're just not gonna tolerate it.
Right.
You know, they're just gonna be like, this just really doesn't work for me, you know.
Yeah.
But they can cause a secure person to become anxious because then all of a sudden, if they stick around for a while, they're like, whoa, like what's going on here? Like, so sometimes it can just be like, even, I will say like, sometimes people aren't just anxious. It's somebody else's behavior that yes, is creating that anxious feeling. So some people might not even be anxious attachment. It might just be the other person's behavior, you know?
Right.
So anyways, with all that said, of course, I'm saying that with so much compassion because I can relate to that too. You know, like we're speaking from a place of like, we get it, we understand, we have compassion for it, and here's some things we can do on both sides to make it a healthy thing for everybody involved.
Right.
So just to recap, deactivation is a defense. It's not a death sentence in a relationship. And so I would definitely take that away from it. And then I would also encourage just reflection of which pattern do you recognize in yourself, you know? And we'd love to hear from you. Like, yep. If you want to DM us and say, yep, I've totally had those moments. I've done it. I've experienced it. I've walked through it, whatever. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to share, Kelli, as we wrap this up? Any last thoughts?
No, I mean, I guess just kind of what you've said. I think just that consistency, like you say, if you are the one that has to have a little bit of space just to kind of regroup and stuff like that, just that consistency to the other partner, respect for them, and then, like you say, and to make sure that person is understanding and gives grace and compassion. Like, okay, I understand. And then, like you say, when they come back, don't berate them or, or anything like that. I mean, I think you have to, I think the person that kind of, we'll just say, ghosts the person for a while, I think you do have to do that with a little bit of respect. I mean, I don't think, if it's a couple days or a couple hours or whatever, if you're like 3 weeks, that's, I don't really think anybody, even the person who ghosts, I don't even think that's something that they would be willing to accept. So, but yeah, I think just consistency and as with anything, consistency and communication and respect for each other,
Yeah. And I think that it's very important, yes, for you to understand like what those things are. And we've talked about this in the past that make you feel safe. And if it's the communication of like, I need space, the consistency, whatever, I think that's important to establish that. When you show up warm and open and inviting and you are their peace, so they have this place that they can co-regulate with you, right?
Right.
That other person also needs to be able to co-regulate. And that is part of it. Like, this is how you co-regulate with me and how you make me feel safe is letting me know when you are going to be gone, when you're taking space.
Right.
And
and not take advantage of that situation either.
Right.
You don't want somebody that just feels like, oh, just,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think then, establishing like that if they aren't able to meet you there, like you've let them know, like, I want to be that place for you and here is what I need. And if they choose not to do that for you, then okay, maybe that's where you say, okay, this doesn't work for me. Like this hurts me when you do this.
Yeah.
So, and I know that I believe that they very much feel that way and they feel like that shame and regret and fear of coming back. And so I think it's very important that if we establish this, like, hey, we're good for you to take your space. I'm totally good with that.
Right.
I just need to know.
Right. Yeah.
That saves a lot of like then they can even leave without feeling guilty, right? And you have peace, like, okay, I'm just going to go enjoy my time. And it just is a win-win for everybody involved.
Right.
So, alrighty. Well, I loved this time and like the conversation and we are so thankful for all of you. We absolutely love chatting together and sharing with you all, and we send you off with so much love. And until next time, we will talk to you later.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking the Silence. As we conclude our time together, let us carry forward the stories we've heard, the emotions we've shared, and the connections we've forged. Remember, the journey through grief and loss is not one we walk alone. In the silence, we find solidarity. In our shared experiences, we find strength. And in our vulnerability, we find resilience. If you or someone you know is navigating the complexities of grief, know that there is support available. Reach out, lean on your community, and remember that healing is not linear. It's a journey, and you are not alone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being a part of this community. Until next time, may you find peace in the spaces between the silence. Please be sure to subscribe below and leave us a review. If you'd like to connect further, you can find me on Instagram at Coaching with Renee. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking the Silence. As we conclude our time together, let us carry forward the stories we've heard, the emotions we've shared, and the connections we've forged. Remember, the journey through grief and loss is not one we walk alone. In the silence, we find solidarity. In our shared experiences, we find strength. And in our vulnerability, we find resilience. If you or someone you know is navigating the complexities of grief, know that there is support available. reach out, lean on your community, and remember that healing is not linear. It's a journey, and you are not alone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being a part of this community. Until next time, may you find peace in the spaces between the silence. Please be sure to subscribe below and leave us a review. If you'd like to connect further, you can find me on Instagram at Coaching with Renee.